Hello learners, welcome to lecture 35. In our last lecture, we discussed the critical role of nutrition in childhood and adolescent. Today, we will expand our focus beyond physical health to consider the systems and services designed to protect children and support their welfare. Child protection and welfare services ensure that children grow up safe, supported, and with opportunities to thrive. These services are essential for addressing abuse, neglect, exploitation, and the needs of vulnerable children. Child protection is not just an act of charity but a fundamental right enshrined in global and national frameworks. It seeks to shield children from abuse, neglect, exploitation, and violence, which undermine their growth and development. Welfare services complement protection by ensuring children receive the support they need for education, health, and social integration. Together, protection and welfare are critical pillars for holistic child development. These repositions children as rights bearing social actors within institutions. Family, school, community, state rather than passive recipients of benevolence. Instruments such as UN Conventions on Rights of a Child and India's Juvenile Justice Act codified duties for families, communities, and the state, making protection a matter of enforceable obligation. Protection must address both interpersonal harms and structural violence like power, gender, and caste inequality, displacement, and hazardous labor that systematically heightens vulnerability. Welfare operationalizes social citizenship by expanding real capabilities, turning abstract rights into lived opportunities. In practice, integration looks like child safe institutions, mandatory reporting, trauma informed services, and coordinative referrals across police, health, and social welfare. Community level mechanisms, child protection committee, frontline workers, and local governance bodies create early warning systems and accountability for timely action. Finally, equity focused monitoring ensures we identify who is being left behind, while in life course approach links protection and welfare to tangible outcomes. Better learning, mental well being, and social integration that strengthen human development across generations. Children are inherently vulnerable because of their dependence on adults and limited power to defend themselves. Abuse, neglect, or exploitation during childhood leaves long time scars, including trauma, poor health, and reduced life opportunities. Protecting children is therefore both an ethical obligation and a legal responsibility of families, communities, and states. Child protection services are designed to create safe environments where children can flourish. From a sociological lens, this means treating children as rights bearing social actors and holding institutions like family, school, community, and state accountable for duty of care and readiness. Structural risks like poverty, gender, and caste discrimination, disability, and migration compound interpersonal harms. So, interventions must target both household dynamics and wider social inequalities. Practical safeguards include child safe schools and Anganwadis, mandatory reporting, trauma informed counseling, and coordinative referrals across health, police, and social welfare. Finally, equity focused monitoring and a life course approach ensures early protection translates into better learning, mental well being, and expanded life chances. The risks facing children are many and varied. Physical, emotional, and sexual abuse remain widespread in both homes and institutions. Neglect and abandonment deprive children of care. Child labor and trafficking exploit their vulnerability for economic gain. Early marriage exposes children, particularly girls, to health risks and loss of opportunities. Child protection services must address these risks through prevention, rescue, and rehabilitation. The UN Conventions on Rights of the Child, adopted in 1989, provides a global framework for child rights. It emphasizes four key pillars: the right to survival, protection, development, and participation. This convention guides national laws and welfare programs, ensuring that services are built around children's rights and dignity. Recognizing children as right holders transforms welfare from charity to justice. Building on this, CRC's general principles: non discrimination, the best interests of the child, the right to life, survival, or development, and respect for child's views are operationalized through the idea of evolving capacities, ensuring age appropriate participation and decision making. In practice, countries align law and schemes with right based standards such as child safe procedures, due process, and child friendly justice. Programmatically, a rights lens shifts welfare to capability expansion, universal immunization and nutrition, including and safe schools with reasonable accommodation for disability, and structural participation platforms like student councils, Bal Panchayats that give children a voice. Governance follows suit with child impact assessments of policies, child sensitive budgeting, and disaggregated monitoring to ensure equity. Finally, when teaching or implementing, link each pillar to concrete indicators and referral pathways so that participation is not tokenistic but actively shapes design, feedback, and accountability. In India, child protection and welfare services operate under several legal frameworks. The Juvenile Justice Act provides the care and protection of children in need and children in conflict with the law. The POSCO Act addresses sexual offences against children, ensuring child friendly procedures. The Right to Education Act guarantees free and compulsory education, an essential element to welfare. These laws underpin service delivery and enforcement mechanisms. In practice, these statutes connect through on ground institutions like child welfare committees, juvenile justice boards, special juvenile police units with child welfare police officers, district child protection units, and POSCO special courts that coordinate case management and survivor centered support. Mission Vatsala, earlier ICPS, funds the continuum of care, including child care institutions, sponsorships, foster care, aftercare, and adoption via the Central Adoption Resource Authority. While the Right to Education Act drives child safe, inclusive schools with zero corporal punishment and school management committee oversight. Convergence with Anganwadis, ICDS, and health services, plus Childline, that is 1098, improves early identification, reporting, and trauma informed response. These legal rights must translate into everyday practices, safe school norms, community vigilance committees, and capacity building for teachers, police, and healthcare workers. So, power imbalances do not silence children. Finally, equity focused monitoring, disaggregated data by gender, caste, disability, and location helps expose gaps and ensures protection and welfare reach the most marginalized. Child welfare services include a variety of mechanisms designed to support children in need. Childline 1098 provides a 24-hour emergency helpline for children. Child welfare committees are quasi judicial bodies that make decisions for children in difficult circumstances. Care services may be institutional, such as children's homes, or non institutional, like foster care and adoption. Together, they form a protective safety net for vulnerable children. Institutional care includes children's homes, observation homes, and special homes under the Juvenile Justice Framework. These provide shelter, education, and health services for children without family support or those in conflict with law. While institutions offer safety, prolonged institutionalization can harm children's emotional development and attachment. Hence, non institutional care is increasingly emphasized as a preferred alternative. Now, what is non institutional care? It focuses on raising children within family and community settings. Foster care places children temporarily with families, while sponsorship programs support families in caring for children. Adoption provides permanent family placement. These approaches prioritize family based care, which is generally healthier for child development compared to institutional settings. They reflect the principle that every child deserves a family environment. Child labor remains a significant protection challenge, depriving children of education and exposing them to exploitation and risk. It is closely linked to poverty, illiteracy, and weak enforcement of laws. India's Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act and Rehabilitation Services aim to rescue and rehabilitate child laborers. Addressing child labor requires not only laws but also social support to families to prevent economic compulsion. Child trafficking is one of the greatest violations of child rights, involving recruitment and transport for labor, sex work, or illegal adoption. Trafficking often occurs across borders, but also within countries. Protecting children requires strong law enforcement, community vigilance, and rehabilitation services for survivors. Trafficked children need psychosocial care and reintegration support to heal from trauma and resume normal lives. Early marriage, particularly of girls, remains common in many religions. Despite legal prohibitions, married girls face higher risks of maternal mortality, early pregnancy complications, and dropping out of school. Their children are also more likely to be malnourished and die young. Laws such as Prohibition of Child Marriage Act along with community awareness programs are crucial for prevention. Child sexual abuse is a widespread but underreported problem. Survivors often face lifelong psychological trauma and physical health issues. Stigma and fear prevent reporting, leaving many cases hidden. The POSCO Act provides comprehensive legal protection mandating child friendly procedures. Effective response requires not just laws but also trained professionals, supportive families, and community awareness to break the silence around CSA. Street children living without parental care are among the most vulnerable groups. They face daily risks of exploitation, abuse, substance use, and crime. Lacking education and healthcare, they are excluded from opportunities for development. Welfare services such as shelter homes, non formal education, and vocational training aim to rehabilitate street children. Long term strategies must address poverty and family breakdown, which drive children to the streets. Children with disabilities are often marginalized, facing neglect, abuse, and exclusion. They require tailored welfare services, including inclusive education, healthcare, and assistive technologies. Protection from discrimination is enshrined in laws such as the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, ensuring participation and dignity for children with disabilities is a central goal of child protection and welfare. Education serves as a critical protective factor for children. Schools provide safe spaces, reduce risks of child labor and early marriage, and empower children with knowledge and skills. Teachers can identify abuse and neglect early, serving as referral points for protection services. Education also raises awareness of rights, enabling children to resist exploitation and demand justice. Health services play a key role in child protection. Health workers often encounter signs of abuse or neglect, making early identification crucial. Medical care and psychological counseling are essential for recovery. Health facilities must establish referral links with child protection services to ensure integrated support. Training health workers to recognize and respond to protection concerns is vital. In practice, this means routine, age appropriate screening for injury patterns and psychosocial red flags, meticulous documentation, and child friendly interviewing that minimizes re traumatization. Clear standard operating procedures should map referral pathways to child welfare committees, special juvenile police units, district child protection units, and childline with feedback loops to confirm that child actually receives the service. Trauma informed clinical care, privacy, assent, and consent processes, safety planning, and timely medico legal examination where indicated links treatment to legal safeguards. Multidisciplinary case conferences help align care plans and reduce institutional gaps. Investing in health worker training on stigma, gender, and caste sensitivity. Empower asymmetries, builds trust, improves disclosure, and ensures that protection is not episodic charity but a right based systems level response. Communities are the first line of protection for children. Neighbors, teachers, and local leaders can identify risks and intervene early. Community vigilance and reporting mechanisms such as Village Child Protection Committee strengthen safety nets. Ultimately, child protection requires cultural change, shifting norms that tolerate child labor, marriage, or violence towards upholding children's rights and dignity. Non governmental organizations play a vital role in child protection and welfare. They deliver services, rescue children from exploitation, and provide rehabilitation and counseling. NGOs also engage in advocacy, pushing governments to strengthen policies and funding awareness campaigns conducted by NGOs raise visibility of child rights issues and mobilize communities for action. Their flexibility and grassroots reach complement state services. Media is a powerful tool for child protection. It raises awareness of child rights, highlights cases of abuse and exploitation, and mobilizes public opinion. Media coverage can pressure governments to strengthen responses and hold perpetrators accountable. At the same time, media must act responsibly, avoiding sensationalism and protecting the identity of child survivors. Advocacy through media contributes to stronger protection systems. The Integrated Child Protection Scheme in India provides a comprehensive framework for child protection. It emphasizes prevention of abuse, timely rescue, and rehabilitation of children in need. ICPS operates through partnerships with state governments, NGOs, and communities, creating a coordinated network of services. Its holistic approach reflects the recognition that protecting children requires multi sectoral collaboration. Operationally, ICPS, now Mission Vatsala, supports district child protection units and a continuum of care, open shelters, child care institutions, sponsorship, foster care, and aftercare, while linking child welfare communities, juvenile justice boards, special juvenile police, and the Central Adoption Resource Authority to ensure due process and family based alternatives. Prevention is advanced through village or ward child protection committee, school safety curricula, and childline outreach with convergence across Anganwadi ICDS, health, and right to education platforms for early detection and reintegration. Standard operating procedures and case management MIS and follow create accountability and reduce drop offs across institutions. Applying an equity lens, gender, caste, disability, migration, and trauma informed practices shifts the scheme from charity to right based capability expansion. Finally, continuous capacity building of the frontline workers and social audits with child participation keep services responsive to local power dynamics and community realities. Juvenile justice boards they deal with children in conflict with law, ensuring child friendly procedures. The emphasis is on rehabilitation rather than punishment, recognizing that children require guidance and support rather than harsh penalties. The services include counseling, vocational training, and reintegration into society. The approach reflects the principle that every child deserves a second chance. Under the Juvenile Justice Act framework, JJBs are quasi judicial bodies comprising a principal magistrate and two social workers, and they prioritize diversion and non custodial measures wherever possible. Child friendly procedures, confidential hearings, presence of support person, access to free legal aid, and prohibition of jail like settings reduce the trauma and enable meaningful participation by the child. Each case is guided by an individual care plan, linking the child to education catch up, mental health care, family strengthening services, and market relevant skilling, with time bound inquiries and periodic reviews. Juvenile Justice Boards coordinate with district child protection units, special juvenile police units, child welfare police officers, and child welfare committees when a child is also in need of care and protection, ensuring seamless referrals and strict confidentiality of records. Restorative justice tools like structured apology, community service, or victim offender dialogue wherever appropriate build accountability while keeping the focus on reintegration and reduce re-offending. Child welfare committees are quasi judicial bodies responsible for children in need of care and protection. They decide on placement in homes, foster care, or adoption and ensure services are provided. Committees act in best interest of the child, considering both safety and long-term welfare. Their work bridges the legal system and child protection services, ensuring accountability. Monitoring and evaluation of child protection and welfare services ensures that they are effective and accountable. Data on case handling, service delivery, and outcomes help identify gaps. Regular review strengthens systems, informs policy changes, and builds public trust. M&E mechanisms ensure that child protection is not just a policy on paper but a reality in practice. Ethical considerations are central in child protection. Decisions must always prioritize the best interest of the child, respecting their confidentiality and dignity. Children's voices should be heard, recognizing their evolving capabilities. At times, protection may conflict with autonomy, requiring careful balancing. Ethical principles guide professionals in safeguarding rights while respecting children as individuals. Globally, UNICEF provides a child protection framework emphasizing prevention, justice, and service for survivors. The Sustainable Development Goals commit to ending violence, exploitation, and harmful practices against children. Best practices from countries like Sweden with strong child welfare systems and Brazil with community based models provide valuable lessons. Global perspectives highlight universal principles while adapting to local contexts. Building on these are rights and capabilities links prevention with universal services and age appropriate participation so children are treated as social actors, not passive recipients. Countries operationalize this differently. Sweden's multidisciplinary child house model with strong social insurance demonstrate state-led coordination, while Brazil's conselhos, community health agents, and school social protection linkages show how local networks drive early detection and support. Program quality improves when systems embed trauma informed practice, mandatory reporting with child friendly procedures, and inoperable case management data that is disaggregated by gender, disability, and location to service inequities. For policymakers and practitioners, the takeaway is adapt, don't copy. Co design with communities, map referral pathways across health, education, justice, and fund frontline capacity so prevention, justice, and survivor services function as one integrated system. Child protection faces many challenges. Underreporting of abuse keeps many cases hidden. Resource constraints limit the reach of services, particularly in rural areas. Cultural acceptance of practices like child marriage or labor undermines protection efforts. Overcoming these challenges requires stronger laws, adequate funding, and community level change in attitudes and norms. We must tackle structural drivers, poverty, gender, and caste hierarchies. Alongside interpersonal abuse, pairing legal reform with social protection that reduces reliance on child labor or early marriage. Reporting improves when children have multiple safe confidential channels and when mandatory reporting as paired with protection from retaliation and survivor centered protocols. Rural reach can expand through mobile protection teams, tele-mental health, and one-stop crisis centers linked to Anganwadis, schools, and primary health platforms with trained frontline workers. Norm change requires long horizon social and behavior change communication, co created with adolescents, parents, teachers, community leaders, and explicit engagement of boys and men to shift harmful masculinities. Finally, ring fenced budgets, district dashboards, and disaggregated indicators, social audits, and time bound case procedures create accountability so that attitudes shift, service scale, and impunity recedes. Future directions in child protection emphasize strengthening family based care, ensuring children grow up in supportive environments. Digital tools such as helplines, apps, and databases improve reporting, tracking, and monitoring. Integration of protection services with health and education systems creates a holistic approach, addressing risks comprehensively. Building resilient, inclusive systems is key to protecting children in the future. To summarize, child protection and welfare are rights based obligations, not optional services. Protection shields children from harm, while welfare ensures access to education, healthcare, and family environments. Effective systems require collaboration between families, communities, governments, and NGOs. The best interest of the child must guide all decisions, ensuring safety and opportunities for growth. In conclusion, child protection and welfare services are essential for ensuring that children grow up safe, healthy, and empowered. They represent our collective responsibility to safeguard the most vulnerable members of the society. Protecting children today prevents the cycle of abuse, poverty, and exploitation, creating a foundation for a fairer, healthier society. As future professionals and policymakers, your role will be to strengthen these systems and uphold the right of every child. Thank you so much. This is all for today. Next we talk about role of education in child development and health in our lecture 36. Thank you.